With me, I have Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos, and Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director, Enough is Enough. Well, Prof. Yemi, good to have you. Well, we've had three guests. First, on Yoruba Nation agitation with Professor Banji Akintoye. Second, the subject of the crisis with the former governor of Kogi State, former Governor Yahaya Bello. And then third, of course, we discussed the situation between Iran and Israel and the latest development in Togo with Foyan Singbe seeking to become president for life. Let me start with you, Professor Aworawo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the comments by Professor Banji Akintoye, by the way, my very, very senior colleague. When I was in school, we used his works on Yoruba history. So probably he's putting into practice what he has written about over the years. Yeah, many of the things he said are right. And they fall within what I always describe as the centrifugal forces and vociferous tendencies within the Nigerian nation. Agitations here and there for self-determination and possible independence for some ethnic groups of some regions in the country. Yeah, the neglect of some parts of the country is a major factor for all of these agitations. But we also know from our study of international affairs that the bigger a state is, the better. Europe, nearly 30 states, they exist as states on their own, but they are seeking to achieve a metamorphosis from a Europe of states to a state of Europe because of the realization of the importance, the benefits of a big state. So Nigeria remaining one is actually the best option if the contradictions can be resolved. And one way this can be resolved is through true federalism. If true federalism is implemented, all of these agitations will reduce tremendously, which is why they advise that some elders, in the struggle for true federalism in Nigeria, the struggle against Abacha dictatorship and the rest of them, have given to President Tinubu that he was also part of that group, all this while. Now that he's president, he has no choice than to ensure that true federalism takes place in Nigeria. If that is done, I'm sure all of these agitations will go down tremendously because the regions will then be able to, or states, regions will be able to, hold their own and, manage their resources, and everyone will move at his own pace. That is the whole essence of federalism. Federalism is supposed to allow different parts of a country that is heterogeneous to develop, to manage their affairs. And then the things that bring them together at the center will be few. And so the issues that will lead to conflict will also be few. So my advice is that the current government should work very quickly towards implementing many of the recommendations over time, including those of the conference I had in 2014 under President Jonathan, so that Nigeria could be truly federal and all of these agitations can reduce tremendously. As for Yahaya Bello, I agree with the lawyer, Shoma, Liberals, on many of the things he said, but I think it was too complimentary of Yahaya Bello. Yahaya Bello has not paid heed to the advice of the comments by Achebe. Those who have their pancane cracked for them by benevolent spirit should learn to be humble. I mean, it was someone else who won election, Abubakar Audu. And Faleke was supposed to be the deputy governor. Neither of them became governor. Yahaya Bello came from nowhere and became governor. And then we started carrying himself almost like an emperor. You ask Liberals several questions, this question several times. What advice do you have for Yahaya Bello? He didn't answer that question. So let me answer it for him. Yahaya Bello should go and surrender. He should not be a fugitive. It's a bad thing to be a fugitive. Surrender yourself. Say, well, I'm not running away. I've not committed any offense. give up yourself and continue to insist on the law. But by becoming a fugitive, I mean, the impression you create is that you have stolen money. Like me, if somebody say, oh, you didn't attend Unilag, your certificates are fake, I will just flash them. If you accuse somebody, oh, your certificates are fake, and he goes to court, you begin to wonder, which one is easier? Is he going to court or bringing the certificate? Or maybe they say, go and do DNA. You are not sure the father of your child is your father, and you are running to heter-skelter. Go and do the DNA and flag, and then you buga. You say, yeah, well, I've done it. See, the father is the father.
You have to drag Mohbad into
No,
this
not
matter.
Mohbad. I'm always saying generally that, look, when I hear these things, I become surprised. They say you stole it. Give up of yourself. See, that's the OV of Ewu, who the Clement Ikolo. He gave up himself, and now they've checked through, although it's not clear totally yet, but everything is pointing to, not being a fugitive is a bad thing. And that is the advice I will give to Yahaya Bello. EFCC needs to do a tidier work. I agree with, liberals on that. They need to do something more tidy so as not to give opportunity for people who have actually committed offense to look for technicalities to escape. They need to do that. But on the other hand, the previous governor, should surrender himself. Maybe they will just interrogate him for a day. They may not even lock him up. There are people they invite. After discussing with them, when they see that maybe what we're even thinking was there's nothing there, they allow them go, and then the court will decide the rest. But so EFCC has fought. Yahaya Bello even has, to my mind, even has a bigger one, because if they're accusing you of committing an offense, and you think and you have not committed the offense, submit yourself, let the legal process go on, and then everybody will be fine. Running away is not the way around it. Liberals didn't answer that question, and I'm advising former Governor Yahaya Bello to do that. Then finally, Israel and Iran. Well, what we predicted is what has happened. Iran, tried to attack Israel. The West rallied around Israel. There are people who have been talking about, people of God. It's the US, the West, that have been supporting Israel. People of God. When I hear that, I become, even intelligent people, educated, and say, people of God. Who says people of God? Why are they running always to the US? They just passed assistance, another $29 billion that will go to Israel. Which is where I come in that, look, the US and especially the US needs to be more responsible and responsive to global concern. So that peace, I also agree with the ambassador, that you can only delay the Palestinian state. You can't deny it. It will come to pass at some point. And the earlier Israel realized that after fighting for over 70 years, and continue to work for another 70 years, is not the way around it. Then finally, Phil Nasingbe. It's very disappointing that we are not having, after President Jonathan left and some other presidents after one term, they are leaving, the footballer, the Liberian president, George Weah left. We are still having fairly younger African leaders wanting to toe the path of dictatorship. In fact, Phil Nasingbe became president illegally. When his father, there was no election. His father died and he just came in. It was ECOWAS that fought before elections were held. He now came in, he wants to stay there for life. It is baffling. Well, our advice is that let the president forget about these dictatorial tendencies and wanting to sit tight and not plunge Togo into avoidable crisis. Then the parliament is very disappointing. See the case of Senegal. The parliament came and now Senegal is stable. It was the parliament that stood, the courts, rather. The courts came and they chose some element of the society that will be sane. Not everybody going to the same in the direction of perdition. So anyway, we hope that Togo will be able to find a way around. And of course, ECOWAS needs to also step in. Not only when the military comes in, they start making noise. Now, this is almost like a civilian coup. Yeah. ECOWAS should come in, come into the fray and let what is right take place so that stability can, be restored to Togo.
Yemi.
I'll start with the last story. And I'm not quite sure why you think ECOWAS has any bite. Like why would anybody listen? Like what is ECOWAS going to do? I mean, and I hear you, because ideally that's what the body is for. But we've seen over the last 2 years, just from all the coups back to back to back, even in Senegal, ECOWAS didn't really have any. It wasn't that ECOWAS had any strong position that then forced Macky Sall to change his ways. It was literally the citizens telling him that this is not going to happen. unfortunately, I mean, I don't think Togo has checked the president as much over the years that he's been there, even starting with the president of how he became president. And so 20 odd years later, literally just watching him, now will become, it's going to be harder, unlike the sort of the Senegal story where there was immediate momentum when he tried and they pushed back. So I think that's a bit of a challenge. And it was interesting to hear Ambassador Keshi talk about the fact that that's all he's seen, his father being president. I think what he actually sees is the fact that nobody's going to stop him. I don't think it's a function of that's what he sees, because if he was really someone who was interested in the people of Togo and the country and ensuring that he's delivering service. I mean, look, we've talked about it in the case of Rwanda. We talk about it in the case of Singapore. And those are countries that we point to as positive examples of what a benevolent dictator could look like. Now, if Togo was benefiting under a so-called benevolent dictator, I'm sure maybe we'll have a different conversation. But that's not the conversation we're having. And I think what he sees literally is that this is going to pass. And as Dr. Bati was saying earlier, the parliament he said he's consulting, but the parliament has already passed it. So who are you consulting exactly? All it needs is your pen to sign it into law and it's a done deal. And so, again, to the question about parliamentarians, when parliamentarians also don't feel that their being there is being challenged and anybody is going to remove them, or their consequences, that's the word I was looking for, that there are consequences to their actions, then they continue in that light, and which is quite unfortunate. ECOWAS, I mean, I think for me, ECOWAS, that whole conversation, I think we had it a few weeks ago, the amount of power that ECOWAS has lost just by not having a strong leadership and people who really care about what the body is supposed to stand for. Gaza, Israel, I think the points have already been made as they should. Yeah, I had Bello. I think I'm not a lawyer, so I'll put that caveat out there. But what I was made to understand was that the order of the Kogi High Court didn't contravene the order of the Abuja High Court. Because what the Kogi High Court said was that you're free, however, subject to, and this does not negate whatever order the Federal High Court gives, and the Federal High Court, it doesn't also negate the powers of the Federal High Court, or something to that effect, that the Federal High Court can ask for you to be arrested, or the EFCC to arrest you, if there's probable reason for charges of corruption or whatever the case might be. So there's really no contradiction in that term, but that doesn't negate the fact that EFCC has historically been shoddy. And that's also part of what lends a lot to this, what really is all this drama and noise. How many cases has EFCC prosecuted that they're successful at? Or you get to a certain degree and everybody, especially as we saw under Buhari, starts doing deals that drops their cases when they ported to APC. So all of that kind of gives EFCC a bad name, and lack of clarity, I guess, also in communication makes it very difficult. I do agree with you that the former governor should turn himself in. But what's also very significant, though, is that Supreme Court has said that there's no permanent immunity. So Yahya Bello has no immunity. But it seems that the current governor then wants to use his own immunity like a cloak to cover him. And for me, that's very worrisome about what he will then do as a governor. Now, he is the person that has immunity. Police officers don't have immunity. So when police officers, under the guise of their governor, are misbehaving, so to speak, I think bringing those officers to book will be a very strong message, I think, to fellow governors in terms of how you use people that are in your employment. And then lastly, self-determination. I hear you. The bigger a state is, the better. And obviously you have the United States, you have Europe of states. But again, to your point, and actually we're even advocating for what is called United States of Africa or
States of Nigeria.
No. No, that's also what I'm even saying, that if we're even advocating for a United States of Africa, then obviously we want the United States of Nigeria to stay the same. But the United States of Nigeria are not the United States of Nigeria because, as you rightly said, the states are not treated equally. The states don't feel like they have equal access. When the current president was governor of Lagos, he was one of the people that really pushed that idea that as a state, there's certain things that I should be able to do that the federal government should have no say in. I think it would be good to see current states challenge him in that regard. In a sense, give him a taste of his own medicine. Let's really push this whole idea of we're a federating unit, even though in theory we run as a unitary state. Self-determination is really, to your point, at the heart of the fact that people feel that this country is not serving their interests. Is it valid? Yes. Does the country make provision for it in terms of wanting to hear people out, either via a referendum or just even making that a possible conversation? No. We're currently in the process of amending our constitution, so we can have a conversation about the fact that the constitution is flawed. We can also have a conversation about what would it take to, given where it is now, to allow these sorts of things to be added to it. Again, the road is long because you need to educate enough citizens to understand what is at stake. And then back to your parliamentarians, put enough parliamentarians' feet to fire to ensure that it scales through. A tall order, given where we are, but that's where we are.
Okay, let's take something that is more enheartening, which is a Nigerian chess champion and child education advocate has played chess non-stop for 60 hours in New York City's Times Square to break the Guinness World Record for the longest chess marathon. 29-year-old Tunde Onokoya hopes to raise $1 million for children's education across Africa through the record attempt that began last Wednesday. He crossed the 58-hour mark early on Saturday, surpassing the current chess marathon record of 56 hours, 9 minutes, and 37 seconds, achieved in 2018 by two Norwegians. The Guinness World Record Organization is yet to publicly comment about Onokoya's attempt. It sometimes takes weeks for the organization to confirm any new record. Onokoya played against Sean Martinez, an American chess champion, in line with Guinness World Record guidelines, that any attempt to break the record must be made by two players who will play continuously for the entire duration. But already, even before the Guinness Book of World Records making any formal announcement, Nigerians are jubilating, celebrating the spirit of Tunde Onokoya, his public spiritedness in particular, and then the determination with which he wants to encourage younger people. He has a program, Chess for the Slums, yes, in Africa, and he's been very consistent in that regard. He's not reached the $1 million mark, but reports say he's been able to raise up to about 131 million naira.
It's gone to over $800,000.
Oh, he has reached $800 now?
$1,000. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the last time I checked. I don't know where it is now. Yeah.
That means in the last 24 hours,
it's very possible.
More people have been encouraged by his example. But Yemi, let's start with.
I'll start with a post that the former Vice President, Professor Shibajo, said. For me, the greatest miracle of chess is the innate ability of a pawn, the least valuable piece, to become a queen, the most powerful piece. And that was a quote by Tunde Onokoya himself. And then Professor Shibajo went on to say, Tunde, you have consistently exemplified one of life's biggest ironies, that attaining a life of significance comes from serving the least significant among us. Congratulations, Tunde, on this monumental feat and on the continuing phenomenal achievements of chess in slums. And I think that just really sums it up. That was his background. Chess gave him a way out, and he decided to give back. And this was not just playing for the fun of it, but also playing to raise money to use chess to lift young people out of poverty. Congratulations, Tunde. But I also just wanted to add on this note, it will be very interesting, and I hope someone actually takes the time to do this. From when Chef, I forget, Hilda, is that her name?
Chef Hilda Bassi.
Her, yes. When she broke the continuous cooking record, probably now almost 2 years ago now, it'll be interesting to see the number of Nigerians that have attempted to break one record or the other. And I think for me, Tunde's own is, and I think for them, for all of them, they did it for themselves. I think Tunde's own is also very special because he was also raising money to help other people.
Well, Prof?
Yeah, the other time we were speaking about Anthony Joshua, we said the man from Shagamu had done it. Now the man from Ikorodu is doing it. We can only say congratulations to him, but some highlights, one of which Yemi has just pointed out, the fact that he's doing it, to benefit the less privileged and promote education. Makes it very, very significant. We know, how much crisis we have. I mean, 20 million children out of school and all that. So in a little way, is it's going to contribute to developing education, which is very fascinating. The second is what he had to go through. There was a time he started vomiting. He had serious health challenges in the last couple of hours towards breaking the record. That some people thought that he might as well give up. They say he had stomach trouble and was vomiting and all that, but he was determined to break the record, and he went all the way. So that kind of determination, whatever you are doing, try to excel in it. In those days, Jerry Ghana used to say, if you're a teacher, teach well. If you are an administer well. So Onokoya, the chess player, has played the chess well. The Guinness people would acknowledge it, and it took place in public glare. In New York, everybody was there. People came in and went out. Celebrities, Davido and others, they went there, came out. So it's an open thing. It was not something that was done, some esoteric event that people were not doubting, did it happen? Did it not happen? Did they cut corner and all that? This was in the open, so it will be confirmed. So we can only say congratulations to him and for bringing honor to himself and succor to some less privileged people, and of course, pride to Nigeria.
Okay, let's take another topic. Governor Doyediri of Bayelsa State has called on the army to apply the rules of engagement in the search for killers of 17 of its personnel in Okwama, Delta State. Diri made the call in Bomotoro, Southern Ijaw Council area of Bayelsa State, where he said over 20 youths had been killed as the army continues the manhunt for the alleged mastermind of the Okwama killings. Uviteme George has the details.
This amateur video shows some residents of Igbomotoro who had taken refuge somewhere in the forests as the army continues the search for the alleged mastermind of the Okwama killings. The cry of the people over the hardship caused by the siege on their communities echoes in the Bayelsa State Government House, prompting Governor Doyediri to visit the area. The Chief Security Officer of the state first arrived Igbomotoro 1, where he assured the people of their safety and security despite the presence of the military in their community.
The military has cooperated, and they have told me that you can go about your normal business. They will not hurt innocent people. And I'm sure from when that incident happened until today, at least we are beginning to have better freedom in Igbomotoro.
Still on that matter, the Nigerian Army last week released a traditional ruler in Delta State, Clement Ikolo, who have been declared wanted for the gruesome murder of those military personnel on March 14, 2024. The traditional ruler was declared wanted by the Defense Headquarters alongside 7 others for their alleged involvement in the Dastardly Act. He was released to the senator representing Delta Central Senatorial District, Senator Ede Dafinone, who stood surety. He was released after spending 3 weeks in the custody of the military. Professor Aworawo, again, this is very close to home for you.
Yes, I lived around this area, like I said the other time. I'm familiar with this whole territory. And what is happening is really saddening. What happened to the military, the killing of the military men is saddening. It's something that shouldn't have happened. Some criminal elements did that. And of course, the military's response too has not also been tidy. And we have condemned this, that you don't just enter a community and start killing people indiscriminately just because some people from that community or even from some other community carried out killings. It took place in Okwama, for Bomoturu, and some other communities, riverine communities around that area. Well, the governor said things are getting better now, and we hope that the military will follow this path and stop the indiscriminate killings and displacement of people in this area. Those who carried out these attacks need to be identified. Intelligence, like we've emphasized this over and over again. It seems that almost all of our security agencies have problem with intelligence, using intelligence maximally to, combat crime and ensure security. Because, I mean, like we said before, what the invading Okwama and all the other communities doesn't add anything to the ability to apprehend these people. It takes from it. Because people have useful information, we just see the military to as enemy. And so it makes it more difficult to, pin down these people and then arrest them. Beyond the humanitarian catastrophe that this causes, or this has caused, as you can see from the footage. This is not right, and we hope that moving forward, the military will refrain from this kind of thing. As for the OVA, Clement Ikolo, who has just been released, that's the right thing. Of course, they said that does not mean that he has been freed. They are still carrying on investigation and all that. Fine. If there's anything that links him, let him be brought in. If there is nothing, let them not harass innocent people. And when you look at the list of those declared wanted, it looks rather random. Those they suspect might have any link to it, not those that, preliminary investigation has, revealed that might be linked to it. And that is disappointing, that even up to now, those who killed military men, we have not had any concrete, direct person arrested and so this person, we are closer to unraveling all of this. It is very, very disheartening. And I will urge the military to step up, because those people must be identified, must be arrested, must be brought to justice. And they should also refrain, as we have said before, from indiscriminate killing of people, destruction of property, and displacement of innocent Nigerians.
Okay,
But didn't we discuss here that it's not, since they are not military people, that the army, it's not in the army's place that is the police that should be doing this?
To arrest, to prosecute.
Yeah. Is that not the case?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, it's still confused why, number one, even because of his position as a traditional ruler, why is in the custody of the military for 3 weeks with them investigating something that they technically have no powers to investigate. And so that, to your point, just muddles the whole thing up, because you are now not necessarily using the best equipped people to get to the bottom of the killings in a sense.
Good to hear that the police are better equipped.
Well, it's their job in that sense.
Okay,
I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Let's not relate to that. Anyway, now, as we begin to bring this to a close, the United Kingdom has returned 32 gold and silver treasures stolen from the Ashanti Kingdom more than 150 years ago in what is today's Ghana on a 6-year loan, Ghanaian negotiators have said. The artifacts, comprising 15 items from the British Museum and 17 from the Victoria and Albert Museum, were looted from the court of the Ashanti king during the turbulent 19th century clashes between the British and the Ashanti people. Ghanaian authorities have for years tried to reclaim gold treasures looted by British soldiers from the Ashanti Kingdom, which is known as Ashanti. The accord will see the relics, including gold and silver regalia associated with the Asante Royal Court, showcased at the Maya Palace Museum in Kumasi, the capital of the Ashanti region, as part of the year-long celebration honoring the King's Silver Jubilee. Well, it's not only the Ghanaians that have been asking, the colonialists, former colonialists, to return stolen artifacts. Even here in Nigeria, Nigeria has been on it. The people of the Benin Kingdom in Nigeria, they've asked for stolen artifacts to be returned to the original owners. The people of the Republic of Benin, have been saying what was stolen from the Abome Palace should be returned. The Greeks are saying that the Parthenon marbles that the British have stolen should be returned, and so on and so forth. But the standard argument by the British is that, look, those artifacts are better kept in museums in Europe, and that if these things are returned to Africa, Africans don't have the capacity to keep their own things. Yemi.
I just wanted to make this note. I was watching myself and watching the badge that a Chibok girl, Lydia Simon, was, speaking of return, came back during the week. So from last week Sunday, which was the 10-year mark, one more girl has come back, and we're quite grateful for that. Now, speaking on this, is there some truth to the fact that most, I'm not saying most, a number of African countries don't have the capacity and the buildings to house this artifacts. Is that a statement of truth? Yes. Nigeria doesn't have a functional museum. The museums that we have belong to private entities. The Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Museum in Abuja, the Obasanjo Museum in Abeokuta. I think those are the only two that come to mind, right? And now there's a new J.K. Randall one in Lagos, but it's not a Nigerian museum in that sense. It's a Lagos museum. So I think to that degree, the statements are correct. But does that mean that you shouldn't return stolen property? No. You stole it. At least we agreed that you stole it, and you're just saying that if we return it. And I think this is a challenge to Ghana, that at the end of this 6-year loan, quote unquote, not only must the 32 artifacts still be complete, we don't have any accidents that one of them has grown legs or two, or swallowed.
Africans will steal the artifacts.
Very possible. Or in Nigeria parlance, a snake might have swallowed one of them, just so that we don't have any stories. I'm very serious. It's really a challenge to Ghana, not just in terms of keeping them, but also ensuring that they're kept in a state that preserves their value. Because if they have been kept like the way we keep some of our things, there will be nothing to return, to lend or to return. There'll be nothing to be discussed. So I'm happy that they're back. I think for us, we got some stuff back from the Benin Kingdom a few years ago.
Akuku, I think. Yeah.
Yes. So it is important, and I think it's good that we're laying claim to those things, but then the responsibility falls squarely on us to ensure that we can keep them and maintain their value.
Professor Aworawo?
Yeah, when I was in school, we used to read about Ashanti Fante British wars.
Yes.
Some of those things they stole in the course of those wars are those things they are bringing back now. Yes, I'll first comment on that point of capacity to keep them in the shape and form that would make the value remain what it is. In August 2011, an international diplomat told me a story in Abuja, who is also an art enthusiast, who was, working to see that some of these artifacts were brought, and that a few were actually, brought. But that by that time he was speaking with me in August 2011, he had given up fighting because some of the few ones that were brought, after some years, the state in which he saw them, he thought they were better off, but things have changed. Because those ones came in trickles. I mean, there was no concerted effort to ensure that they were well kept. But the flurry of activities and return from the past 2-3 years, there are now better facilities. Like, for instance, the ones brought to Benin, they created the enabling environment for them to be well kept. So things have changed. But I'm not sure that there's a whole lot in the fear now that if these things are brought, they will be kept in the good. Because there's no realization that we need these things. These things will be important for us, for tourism and others. And, this advocacy is making the government to put in place the environment for these things to be well kept.
But the only test of that is time.
Well, it's
only time.
Yes, it's time that will bet. They should bring, we'll pursue the issue here. We'll continue to advocate that, yes, we should get this. I mean, it speaks to, are we so deficient that we cannot keep what our forefathers, just look at how beautiful these things are. And it also speaks to,
Professor Aworawo, we cannot keep our schools where our children and our future are getting educated. We cannot keep our hospitals to keep ourselves healthy and alive. It's now one piece of thing that sometimes look like wood that you think we're now going to be holding gently.
We are the ones that have just come. We are trying
an argument about capacity to preserve these things in their original sources, of extraction.
Yes.
Will you say the same thing about the Greeks not being able to keep their Parthenon marbles? Will you say the same thing about the Indians, if they were to get the jewels, on the crown, not being able to keep their jewels?
Those who have stolen them are not using
that excuse for them. They're using it for us.
Again, the fact that the reality before now was that we couldn't keep them. It also speaks to that. But what we're saying is that there is now greater awareness, and the conditions of the one that were just brought a few years ago are, almost perfect. So what we're advocating is that let that momentum continue. And let these things be brought back, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe when we develop the infrastructure.
We are developing it, and I'm sure with, because I know what I'm saying, that before now, they were just neglected. And in the past 2 years or thereabouts, at this flurry of return, the conditions are a lot better. We can only, keep the momentum. If we keep the momentum, we'll just be fine.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Aworawo. Thank you, Yemi, Adamolekun.